What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. I am a fight guy, a Forbes contributor, and I write for Heavy.com. And I'm here with my fellow fight guy, fellow Forbes contributor, and boxing manager of the year candidate, Peter Kahn. What's going on today, Peter?
Brian, everything's great. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic, as well as can be expected, possibly even better. We are powered by Fight TV and presented by Bet Online. If you're watching this on the Fight TV app, head over to YouTube, search Fight Guys, subscribe to the channel now. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we are here talking combat sports. If you're watching us on YouTube, great. Like I said, subscribe, hit that notifications bell so that you know when the videos go up, but also head over to Fight TV and subscribe to their app. Entirely different brand, entirely different set of combat sports content available there as well. So all of that said, what do you say we jump right into round one?
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk about the 168-pound division, super middleweight. It doesn't get a lot of press. I don't know why. There's always seems to be a division, right? And it's usually those add-on divisions that weren't a part of the original weight classes in boxing. Mm-hmm. Those divisions just never seem to ever get this respect. I don't know why that is, but there's some good fighters at 168. I mean, if you're talking about, like, say, for instance, we're talking to somebody, Peter, who is totally just doesn't pay attention to 168. They probably couldn't even roll off to you who the top 168 people are. Who are some of the people that you think that people should be really talking about at 168?
I mean, I think 168 is maybe the most under talked about division in boxing right now. Yes. I mean, there's some serious talent there. Of course, having Canelo fighting at 168 doesn't hurt or create interest in the division. You got Callum Smith, you got Benavidez, you got Caleb Plant. This is a division that has some serious talent, some serious competitive talent. If all these guys ended up fighting each other for a unified title, we'd have some really exciting fights on our hands, maybe some upsets. I think this is the division that I would actually probably like to see. Oh, I forgot Billy Joe Saunders. This is the division that I would like to see Canelo spend a little bit more time in right now.
Yeah, honestly, man, and I'm gonna come out there and I'm gonna say something right now that I 100%
say it.
I believe Callum Smith beats Canelo. I do. I think size, speed, skill level. Callum Smith recently said he's pretty much admitted, I tried to get Canelo, I failed. It's time for me to move on to something else. He's been trying to get that fight for a while, can't get it done. I think there's a reason he can't get it done, because the risk reward doesn't match for Canelo.
Remember, I mean, what I was going to say is, because money, and I'm sorry for cutting here, but Canelo's getting his money no matter what. He's getting that $35 million.
He's getting his money no matter what. But as you mentioned before, there is a certain amount of influence and pressure that comes from the zone in terms of who you're going to fight, which ones are best, right? So here's the thing. You take a fight with Callum Smith, and Callum Smith gives you that work, and you take it before this third Triple G fight. You're hurting the potential engagement and draw of a third Triple G fight because you got beaten by Callum Smith.
Right.
So whether or not, and I'm totally not talking about Canelo when I say this, because a lot of people make this mistake, I think. They start talking about how, this fighter doesn't want to fight this fighter. Sometimes it's not the fighter. A lot of the fighters want to fight whoever. It's the people who are actually making the decisions, which is most of the time not the fighter, about who somebody's going to fight. That's who's saying, no, we don't like Callum Smith for you right now, Canelo. We like this fight.
Right. And here's what's compelling about that. Callum Smith is with Matchroom, who, obviously has the DAZN deal, as is Canelo with Golden Boy on DAZN, and Billy Joe Saunders, who they were going after, Triple G, all fighting on DAZN. Plant and Benavidez are the only two in the names we mentioned, who are with PBC. But to your point, I think Canelo is one of the top 3 pound for pound in the world.
Yes.
I mean, phenomenal. And I think it's an excellent fight. But the guys that we also just talked about, they're no slouches either. All of them are quality opponents.
There's no slouch. There are no slouches. But I'm going to tell you, if I went up and down the top 5 guys at 168, even if you consider Danny Jacobs there, who Canelo already fought.
Sure. I left that out. Right.
Callum Smith, David Benavidez, Billy Joe Saunders, Fedor Chutinov, Caleb Plant, all of those guys. The only one there that I say, man, you know what? I think if I was giving my prognostication for the fight, I'd pick this guy definitively.
Right.
It would be Callum Smith. I'd say Callum Smith will beat Canelo. And this is all about styles. It's all about styles, size, all this different sort of thing, right? Callum Smith is 6'3".
Yeah.
He has insane length, and he's not 38 years old like Sergey Kovalev. He doesn't have maybe some of the personal struggles with training and that sort of thing that Sergey Kovalev may have. And Callum can crack, man. So, and me saying that is not about selling Canelo short. It's about telling people, if you don't know about Callum Smith, you need to look.
Absolutely.
Because Canelo losing to Callum Smith would not be an insult or like, oh my God, this horrible thing for Canelo's legacy. Like Callum Smith's not Buster Douglas. He's a heck of a fighter, who would not be coming out of nowhere to get this victory. Not amongst people who really know fighting and really know boxing, which partly explains to me why you haven't seen that fight.
Look, and as you opened up talking about the 168-pound division, and usually there's a fighter that carries that torch, right? So Roy Jones Jr. and James Toney fighting at super middleweight in the 90s, that kind of brought a little bit of fire to the division at the time. And a little bit of interest, right? But, since then, maybe it's, there have been some good champions along the way, and there have been some exciting fights, but I don't think they've had such depth of talent and competitive talent as they do right now.
Right. And I think the thing of it is that people not staying at the weight class long enough, I think that has something to do with it. Roy did stay, looks like, after he fought after he fought James Toney, he stayed at the weight class for, it looks like, maybe his next 6 fights before he went up to light heavyweight and beat Mike McCallum.
In Jacksonville.
Yeah, I
was there.
Ice Palace in Tampa.
I was there. Yeah. Tampa. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So he stayed. But if you look at the people, and this speaks to the depth thing that you're talking about, if you look at the people that Roy beat after James Toney, Antoine Bird was a good fighter. Vinny Pazienza was a name, but that was an absolute whitewash. First time ever in CompuBox history that a fight was, scored and tabulated where one fighter didn't land a single punch in an entire round over the fight. Vinny Pazienza, I think it was like the 3rd round. Vinny Pazienza never touched Roy Jones.
He was busy moving his hands. He just wasn't touching him.
He wasn't touching him. Tony Thornton, Murky Sosa, Eric Lucas, Bryant, Brannon. None of these guys are, significant names. And then, of course, Roy moves up to 175 and starts to fight some better fighters there. So I think that's the thing. I think what you're saying is right. It's about depth. It's about people staying at the weight class long enough. I think if you look at 168 right now, what you have to ask yourself is, who are the personalities? Who are the brands? And that's the thing that will bring more eyes. Because what I think most hardcore fans of anything don't realize is that they are not the straw that stirs the drink.
Right.
Casual fans, as much as us hardcore people sometimes resent the presence of a casual fan, it's important to realize the casuals are who move the needle, because the hardcores are usually always a smaller group, and they're always there no matter what. You're the ones that sitting up watching ESPN Friday Night Fights. You're the ones that used to watch USA boxing on Tuesdays. I'm sorry. It's a smaller group.
Right.
It's a much smaller group. But when the masses start to show up, then that's when you got those fighters that really move the needle. And the thing of it is there isn't anyone at 168 besides Canelo, whom I don't think most people 100% associate with the division yet. There is nobody there at 168 who is a needle mover like that. So I would love to see somebody like that get established.
So before we end round one, I did want to comment. We do have a regular viewer and commenter, Sean Singletary.
My man.
He's wanted us to talk about Caleb Plant for a while. And Sean, what we decided to do is we reached out to Sweet Hands and asked him to be on the show. So he is going to come on the show either Friday or Monday, and we're going to be able to get into those questions and those topics. So if you do have any questions for Caleb, definitely leave them in the comments section tonight, and we'll get to him when he's on the show.
Yeah, and if you haven't done any homework and know exactly some of Caleb Plant's story, I would definitely encourage you to look it up. It is really quite inspiring because many of the hardships that he's had to overcome to get to this point. He's actually a pretty easy dude to root for if you look at some of the things that he's had to overcome. So it's pretty interesting and kind of heart-wrenching in some ways. And he can also fight. So definitely make sure you kind of prep for that when we have him on later this week. So let's move ahead into our first Between the Rounds.
All right. So I'm sorry, Brian, go ahead.
You go ahead. No, it's your
it's my world. Between the rounds, right?
It's your world. I'm just living in it.
All right. So, I'm of course during quarantine, a lot of time to think, a lot of time to read. And one thing just popped out in my mind recently. And not that it's been something that hasn't been there, but for me, it's just glaringly obvious. When I'm watching all these fighters call each other out, I'm watching fighters on social media talk about who they want to fight, who they're going to beat. And I just notice no one says two words. No one says Jermall Charlo. Nobody wants to fight Jermall Charlo. Not only do I think he's the boogeyman of the middleweight division, I honestly believe he's the boogeyman of all of boxing right now. I just never hear someone stand up and say, that's the fight I want. That's the title I want to go after. And I just, I can't understand with all of this talent at the middleweight division, where we have, still Canelo considered a middleweight, even if he fought at a catchweight, and Triple G and Andrade and, a lot of competition there, right? Mm-hmm. Why is nobody calling out Jermall Charlo? I'm convinced at this point that there are very few people in boxing that want to fight him.
Well, as you're saying that, Peter, and obviously I'm going to talk about this in the championship rounds, but as you're saying that, if anybody is familiar with the Birdman gif of him going like this, just with anticipation, this is how I am to talk about that subject. I'm rubbing the hands together. And if anybody knows me and the previous things that I've said about the Charlos, you already know where I'm going. So I can't wait to get into that. But let's go into round two for right now. And a buddy of yours, and I say a buddy of yours because I haven't had the opportunity to meet this gentleman as of yet, but ESPN Steve Kim, who is not necessarily a buddy of Claressa Shields. he wrote an outstanding article today on ESPN, and he talks about the possibilities or the prospects of a promotional trades in boxing. Now, if you look at it like this, right? One thing that I really appreciate as a content creator myself is I really appreciate people right now who are being creative and coming up with content in a time period where their sport that they cover is not producing live events, right? So this is a compelling article that Steve dropped this morning, and I thought, it really garnered some conversation, and I think it has some validity because we saw a promotional trade take place in mixed martial arts. The first time that ever happened, we had Demetrius Johnson on our show on Monday, but Demetrius Johnson was a centerpiece in a trade between the UFC and One Championship. The UFC sent Demetrius Johnson, the greatest flyweight champion of all time, to one championship where he would be better appreciated because there's no size bias in Asia, and they are totally into, as Demetrius talked about on our show. If you haven't got an opportunity to see that, make sure we're going to put the link to his segment of the interview in the description. But he totally talked about how one championship builds heroes. They know how to hone in on one person's appeal. Then you got Ben Askren, who was itching to try to prove himself in the United States against American fighters and against fighters from a promotion based in North America, because he is American. It was a good fit, good swap and a sensible swap for both. So I'm asking you, Peter, I'm going to open this up and I want to hear what you have to say first. Talking about some of the things that Steve Kim put in here, give me some of your thoughts on stuff like Vasyl Lomachenko and Miguel Berchelt going from Top Rank for Errol Spence.
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, Steve is a buddy, and I've gotten to know him because he's written stories for ESPN and a lot of the fighters I manage, and I read everything else he writes, and he's at all the fights, and I find him to be an upstanding guy and a very good journalist. But this was an interesting piece to kind of ponder and think about, and then really try to put all the pieces together to see how things could work out, right? Yeah. Could PBC make better use of Lomachenko and Berchelt, right? Are there more compelling matchups at either 30 or 35 for Lomachenko that PBC could bring to the table? Obviously, we know that Errol Spence Jr. coming to Top Rank would make a Crawford Spence fight
much easier,
right?
Not to mention. Yeah, well, no, I want to hear what you got to say.
I mean, look, because I understand how, and I know a lot of other people do understand on the surface how it all works. Meaning, this fighter signs with this promoter. This promoter has the exclusive rights to promote that fighter. That fighter fights on the distribution platform that the promoter provides, and it's a very simple model. And the promoter continues to promote the fighter, continues to put him on that platform, whether it's on the free cable version or the streaming version or the pay-per-view version. So you have to say to yourself, like an NFL team, right? What is the promoter, or what would the promoters be looking at? And what criteria would they be assessing to determine if that trade would benefit them in the long run? Because they already know how much they're making on television. They know what they're getting at the live gate. They know what it's bringing them as a company as far as revenue is concerned. What would inspire them to take on? Is it that, well, if we can get our hands on Spence, this fits in really well with the fact that we need somebody for Crawford to fight on a mega level, and this makes that fight, and that would make up for any money that we might lose by not promoting Lomachenko and Berchelt. And on the other hand, PBC could say, look, we've already got 3 other champions. We're okay letting go of Spence to go over here and fight Crawford, because we're going to be able to make really good use of Lomachenko and Berchelt with these other 30 and 35 pounders that we have. So that's what kind of comes to mind. It's wondering what goes on in the war room to determine if that would be viable for either company to say, you know what, let's make that trade.
Well, you know what? Here's my thing. I love the concept of trading, right? I love it. It's just fantastic, because boxing needs something else official to be able to talk about besides the results and that sort of thing. Because as somebody who covers more than one sport, right? Boxing, MMA, and then even some football and basketball. The one thing I appreciate about football and basketball is that there is so many real stories outside of the games themselves, right? There's free agency with basketball and football and baseball. There's these trades, there's drafts, and this is all real information. This is all real stories. There's no speculation. In boxing, almost everything else that comes out about the sport besides who won and lost is speculation. Almost everything. So I love the concept. But that said, I don't like a trade, that particular trade, like Lomachenko and Burkelt for Errol Spence.
Right.
Because here's the reason why I don't. It's because Errol Spence with Top Rank, I think Top Rank gets the short end of that deal in a major way. Because the only real fight in that is Spence Crawford. And then after you determine who's superior, or maybe you had them fight 2 or 3 times.
Well, I was going to say, what if it becomes a trilogy? It could be a home run.
But here's the thing. What if somebody gets knocked out in the second round, which could happen? What if somebody gets just totally blown away, which could happen, which probably doesn't, because skill level wise, they're probably way too comparable for something like that to happen. But it could happen. Then what are you left with after that? And then if you look at it, if it does become a trilogy, okay, it's a trilogy. How long does that go? That goes for a year or 2, year and a half, 18 to 24 months if they do it with any level of, regularity. I just don't think there's a lot of future there after that, because Top Rank's biggest problem right now with Terence Crawford is finding viable people for him to fight. So now you bring him only one fighter for him to fight for the rest of his career to create some sort of some sort of draw besides Crawford himself. I think Top Rank gets the short end of that deal. I think PBC gets to be put in a great position, because not only do you get Lomachenko Davis, there's other fights that you then get an opportunity to try to make. And I also think it hurts Top Rank, because Teofimo Loma is a big fight that could be made, and you lose that fight, So I don't like that one. I don't like that one for.
But it makes us think.
Yeah, it makes you think,
because now I'm already thinking, well, then maybe you go which divisions. So then, for instance, a better trade could be Crawford going to PBC, and in return, maybe Top Rank gets a couple of heavyweights that haven't been able to fight.
That makes more sense.
Because PBC has some more. Maybe you bring Kaunaki over. I don't know. Maybe you bring even Wilder over. Maybe, I don't know. There are options over there.
To me, I wouldn't ever want to trade the top draw in any of those divisions if I was one of these promoters, because if you trade, I wouldn't trade Wilder. You don't get Wilder, and you don't get Spence. You get Jermaine Franklin. You get, that's not PBC, but you're talking about, Showtime. You get Kaunaki. You get, another heavyweight you get Ruiz maybe. You don't get Wilder, because what I'm doing is I'm still want to have this open for us to have this cross promotional fight where everybody makes a lot of money with a Wilder Fury kind of a fight. But what I'm doing is I'm giving you some of my lower level assets to come over to Top Rank to help build your guy up more, because now I'm giving him more viable opponents. And now you're building your guy up more for when we do come back together and have this huge cross promotional event.
So the other side of this whole thing is, one easy thing that promoters can do is simply just work together, like they did with Wilder Fury too.
That fixes everything.
It just makes it so much easier, because the fans, listen, and I said this before, the fans rewarded PBC and Top Rank for making that fight by being the third largest gate in Nevada heavyweight championship history.
Yeah, I mean, when you were only coming behind Tyson fights, and Lewis, I think it was Tyson, Lewis, and I forget.
Tyson Lewis was in Memphis, I believe.
Okay, I thought Tyson Lewis was one of the top 2. Maybe it wasn't for Nevada, but I don't know. I can't remember.
But look, the point I'm making is that when they work together to give the fans the fights that they want, the fans usually reciprocate. Now, I know they probably didn't make that million buy number they were looking at, but they still did a good amount of buys in the 700,000. It's not what they wanted, but they, but what I'm saying is, it was a great way to show how these two networks could work together. So ultimately, I mean, I don't think you have to do trades. Obviously, trades are compelling to talk about. I'd be interested in knowing what our viewers think and what kind of trades they would make amongst promoters.
That would be awesome.
But it was definitely an interesting piece. And like you said, in a time when there are no live events, it was an excellent topic to make you actually stop what you're doing and think about those different scenarios.
Absolutely, 100%. Kudos to Steve for sure for drumming that up. Let's head into our next between the rounds. And while we're talking kind of some, non-specific or non-tangible sort of topics, I wanted to ask you, Peter. I see this a lot of times. I've even written an article along the lines of this, and people breach this subject here and there. A lot of times we talk about like the perfect fighter, right? And combining different attributes from one fighter to the next and saying, oh, well, if this person had this, if this person had that. And I've talked about it several times, but of course, as fighting continues to evolve, and boxers, new boxers continue to come out, you start to see, different people that you might include. So for me, I'm going to break it down. I really want to hear what you said. I know you're going to answer in the championship rounds. But if I was to say fight IQ, and I'm saying that I need to talk about the person who, from an adjustment standpoint and from a game plan and execution standpoint, who I'm taking, it's a close thing, but I'm going to take Floyd from pure fight IQ. That's the guy who I'm just like, you give him an opportunity to adjust, to game plan, to understand how to win rounds. I don't know that I know anybody else who's better at it. He is undefeated. Technically, I do believe he lost the first fight to Jose Luis Castillo. That's the only fight I've seen every single Floyd fight. That's the only fight I've ever scored against him. I think Castillo won the first fight. I think Floyd got a gift. But still, fight IQ, he's the guy for me. In terms of the jab, I'm going Larry Holmes. I've never seen anybody in any weight class whose jab is better. Ike Cortez probably in the conversation, but I would still go with Larry. Right hand, Deontay Wilder. No problem, no question. We had somebody in the comments said that Wilder's right hand was a myth. I almost shut my computer down and threw it out the way. I said, okay. Left hook is Joe Frazier. No question. That's what I'm going with. We're talking about heart, which is very obviously super important. I got two people, but I'm going to go with Evander Holyfield Hart. If Evander had a comment once, it just absolutely blew my mind. And it blew my mind because I knew he 100% meant this. He looks in the camera and he's talking about being knocked out. He said, I'm not afraid to be knocked out. He said, I've been knocked out. He said, so I don't fight with fear like that. I've been knocked out. And for when you match that comment with what I've seen from him in his career already, it resonated with me more than just about anything. There's a ton of people with heart, but if you ask me, that's what I'm going for. Foot speed, which is obviously very different than hand speed. And I might shock people when I say this, but I'm at Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton closed distance with his feet faster than just about anybody I can remember. Like, it's not necessarily the hand speed that was super fast, but the pressure that he put on guys and I think it's probably like the soccer background, but his foot speed was significant. Mm-hmm. Hand speed, different. Never seen anybody's hands faster than Meldrick Taylor and Gary Russell Jr. Two fastest hands guys I've ever seen. Roy Jones is right there in the whole in that conversation. And then the last thing that I have, I got two things. One of the next to last category, and I know it's going to be hard for you to remember everything that I said, but the next to last thing I had is instinct and reflexes. That's easily Roy. Easily Roy. Roy's definitely the guy there. And then chin. This is kind of tough because there's a lot of guys with a fantastic, ridiculous chin, but I'd have to say Jake LaMotta on the chin side. So that's my perfect fighter. I gave you a visual aid because we were moving fast as I was saying that stuff. So on the screen, if in case I name somebody you're not familiar with, we're putting those things up so you can it gives you somebody maybe to Google afterwards. So we're going to jump ahead and go into round 3. And I can't wait to hear what Peter has to say when he responds to that. But yes, let's go into Ask the Fight Guys. Peter, I know you love it. I know you love it. I know you love it. But
yes.
You know what? I decided I was going to protect you today. If anybody was calling you a lion weasel or anything like that, I put them in timeout. So
I actually went through the comments, and other than some long-winded Glovegate conversation pertaining to Tyson Fury, I didn't really see anybody picking on me this week.
Yeah, well, there's always something.
And even in that one, no one was picking on me. It was both of us.
Yeah, it was both. Well,
we're idiots.
We both are, and I've told that consistently, so I'm beginning to believe it. So the first one we're going to go to comes from Largan03. Largan03 says this fight, and he's talking about Teofimo Lopez against Lomachenko. And I'm going to preface this by letting y'all know that Largan03 is a major Teofimo fan. So he says this fight would be pay-per-view because of Teofimo. Think about it. Loma has always been an undercard boxer, and this will be his first main pay-per-view fight because everybody likes big and exciting fights. And guess who made it big and exciting? Teofimo Lopez. This kid is the new star, and he will beat Loma and leave many people shocked, except me. Hashtag the takeover. I'm not sure if this is Teofimo Senior or Largan03 who did this.
He was actually, that was too nice to be Junior.
Okay. Because Junior probably would have dropped that. He's going to kill that guy.
Right.
He's right now. He's one of if I had to give you one of my absolute favorite guests that we've ever had on this show,
right.
He's one or two. He's one or two. He's number one or number two. So what do you? I mean, for me personally, I don't agree that. I mean, Loma's a superstar. Loma is one of those guys who doesn't need to talk, and that's a very rare type of superstar in boxing. Loma doesn't need to talk to get it to be a draw. He just has it from a skill level standpoint. Loma can do a video on social with him doing something freakishly crazy athletically, which he's very capable of doing, and that almost kind of just garners him a whole. That's the equivalent of his rant for him, So I don't know if you agree with Largan. Do you think that Teofimo is what makes this a major fight?
So I disagree with you.
Okay.
And Top Rank probably wouldn't want to hear me say it either, but there's a difference between being an excellent fighter and being a superstar. Lomachenko is an excellent fighter. Competitively, it's a great fight, and he might even be the favorite, which the odds on he is the favorite. I mean, BetOnline has him as the favorite, and a pretty decent favorite at that.
Yep.
But to be a superstar, you have to check all the boxes that would make you a superstar. Pay-per-view draw, live gate draw, fan engagement, transcending the sport. Lomachenko doesn't do any of those. And I do believe that Teofimo Lopez makes this fight sellable. I think that he's going to promote it better. I think that the reason Top Rank wants to do it in New York is they know better. They know having, a kid from Brooklyn, at Madison Square Garden is going to get more fans to come out. The guy that is exciting, the guy that you never know what you're going to get from a celebration, or, he's had highlight reel knockouts. He stole the show from Lomachenko when he knocked out Mason Menard when Lomachenko fought as the headline that same night. And so I do agree that Lopez is the real selling point to this fight. Now, of course, we have all four lightweight belts on the line. That makes it very compelling and exciting. Like I said, I don't remember the last time there was an undisputed lightweight champion. But I find it to be extremely an exciting fight. And I agree with, who is it? What's his name? What's the username?
Largan03.
Right. I agree with Largan03. I mean, look, I know obviously he's a Teofimo Lopez fan, but, take the fandom away. I believe that he's right. I think that Lopez makes the excitement in this fight. I mean, I think he brings the people, and I think he's outside of the traditional boxing people, right, that are going to tune in to watch this. I think that he makes this a compelling promotion.
Yeah, I love Teofimo. Love him. Loved him ever since I saw him do the Fortnite celebration after he scored a knockout. He did the L thing and he did the dance. I love ever since I saw that, I was like, who is this dude? This dude has it. And then I started watching him more as a fighter. And I'm like, man, dude can fight. And then the Richard Comey knockout. Whoa. I'm just like, the guy is awesome. But there's no way in the world, from a draw standpoint, he's nothing compared to what Lomachenko is yet. Now, if knocks Lomachenko out or beats Lomachenko, then we might be talking about something different. I put it like this. Teofimo's ceiling is higher than Lomachenko, but there's no question who's standing the tallest in the room.
But you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
How many tickets do you think, what's the most amount of tickets do you think Lomachenko has sold so far?
Are you talking about from just a live gate sort of a thing?
Yeah, live gate. Look at where his most recent fights have been.
Well, I tell you this.
He had to go to England for Campbell because Campbell was the draw. And I know I asked you a question and I'm kind of answering it. He went to Maryland. I mean, he hasn't been the ticket seller.
Well, if you think about it like this, I mean, he's from the Ukraine. So
I understand.
I mean, are we?
Is that an excuse?
No, it's not an excuse. But what I'm saying is, you're talking about ticket sales and going to people's houses to fight. I mean, is he going to go to the U? Obviously, he's going to be the bigger draw in the Ukraine. Is he going to have people come to the Ukraine to fight? That's not even that's not ever been done by any major. Even the Klitschko's didn't fight predominantly in the Ukraine. So I don't think that.
But they sold out arenas in Germany.
But what I'm saying is, I'm saying that him traveling to other people's homes, I don't think that is necessarily indicative of him not being a big enough star. I'll tell you one thing that you can look at, though, from a metric standpoint, especially in this century, in terms of who has sway. Look at social media standing. He dwarfs Teofimo in both Twitter followers and Instagram engagement. I'm talking about, it's not even close. I mean,
but he also has quite the head start. I'm just also saying,
I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
You're telling me why. I'm telling you why. I'm telling you what it is. I understand why it is. He has the head start.
But I don't think it makes him, I just don't think it equates him to being a superstar.
I don't know. I don't know if.
It's my opinion.
There's not a lot of fighters. There's not a lot of boxers in the world who have 1.8 million followers on Instagram or more. Not a lot. Lomachenko has 1.8 million followers on Instagram. In today's world, that is very telling in how well you're known. How many different demographics.
How many of those 1.8 million are buying a pay-per-view or a ticket to go to a fight? That's really what it comes down to in terms of making the promotion.
I'll ask you this. How many of Teofimo's 150K are buying a fight? He has 150,000 followers. So even if all of them bought it on pay-per-view, it's not enough to make the event a success.
Yeah, but I do believe that he's the draw of this fight. I think that he's. I really do.
The highest ceiling. I think he has the highest ceiling. I just don't think he's there yet.
All right, let's see what everybody else thinks, guys. Please chime in.
Yep. Definitely, for sure. All right. So our next comment comes from Coach Henry Garcia. He says he is actually a two-part thing. He's talking about the Devin Haney situation, and he's we're talking about the comparison of how Ryan Garcia may have been being underestimated, and we're kind of evaluating that whole lightweight scene. And he says they're also forgetting that he is a 15-time national champion. That alone should wake these guys up. Ryan fought Devin Haney 5 times. Ryan won 3, Haney 2. This is you'd have to verify for that if that's really the number if that's the shakeout from amateurs. I don't know that for a fact. I think that Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Farmer, Fortuna, Davis are very good fighters. But let me tell you something. If Ryan hits any one of these guys solid, trust me when I say this, it is lights out. He says that Ryan he also wants you to know that Ryan is 5'11". He's not 5'10". So this is Coach Henry Garcia wants you to know this.
So let me chime in here.
Yes.
So Coach Henry Garcia is Ryan's father.
Yes.
And he's right.
Yes.
Ryan, and he's not correcting us.
Yes.
He's trying to really correct what he was responding to was the fact that we talked about how we agree, and we started the conversation that we feel Ryan is probably severely underrated and underestimated, and mostly among his peers, among Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, the guys that are basically saying, I'm not impressed, or, I'm going to easily beat Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia's, whatever right. The insults they're throwing, and et cetera. And what Coach Henry is saying is these guys must have forgot that Ryan's been doing this.
Another Roy drop?
Another Roy drop. These guys, Ryan has had such a successful and decorated amateur career. He's fought a lot of these guys.
Right.
He is 5'11".
5'11".
Okay. Not 5'10" and a half.
Men are really sensitive about you taking inches away from us.
So, but what Coach Henry is saying is right. Like, and I know that people can say, well, that was the amateurs and this is the pros. Look, he's backed it up in the pros too.
Yeah.
His last two fights, he's backed it up. And I think what's happening is that was more so a reply to the fact that we were basically saying, he's been underestimated, underrated, etc. And the fact that, Ryan didn't just come on the scene overnight.
No.
These guys know Ryan from the amateurs.
Yeah.
These guys, they know what Ryan possesses.
And you can tell that Devin respects him.
Yeah, he does respect him.
I feel like Devin didn't say, there's no Mexican fighter that's going to beat me. He didn't say that. He said no white guy was going to beat him. And one of the reasons he probably did say no Mexican guy was going to beat him is because he knows there's a chance him and Ryan Garcia might crack. And he already knows he's already lost to Ryan Garcia 3 times. So, yeah, Ryan, these guys know and respect Ryan. Gervonta said when we asked him, who would give him the tougher fight, Leo Santa Cruz or Ryan Garcia? He said Ryan Garcia. So anybody who's disrespecting Ryan Garcia is probably not anybody who understands the fight game, because the fighters themselves got respect for him. So
although and look, they are talking a lot because obviously they know who the draw is.
Yeah.
They know who's going to bring the fans and the money, and that's going to be Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, for sure. So that it's very interesting. But again, hashtag Ask the Fight Guys. Shoot it to us so that we can we can talk about it. It won't always be the father of a future world champion.
Right. But Henry, thank you for watching. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. Sometimes it will be. So we definitely appreciate the interaction. It is time for us to go to our championship rounds. And I got to do it. It's time to talk. It's time to talk about why nobody mentions Jermall Charlo.
Do you agree with me?
I do agree with you. Okay. And I have been saying this for as long as I can remember. First and foremost, I'm going to go out and I'm going to come out boldly state, I believe that the Charlo twins have been the most under promoted guys that I can think of. I just want to lay out a scenario. Look at this. The Charlos are identical twins who are world champions, who are both upper echelon fighters, who neither shy away from a microphone, exude confidence, have the kind of presentation that is easy to draw in a following. Yet they have all of these things going for them, but somehow they're not a household name. And I think it's not because of anything that they haven't done. I just don't think there's been enough push behind them. I told Peter this years ago. They should be the Black Klitschko's. They should be. I mean, you tell me, has there ever been, and I know this for a fact, there has never, ever been identical twin champions in the sport. But how many times do you hear anybody saying that? Like, if I'm PBC I'm pumping that everywhere. Every time I show them first, only identical twin champions in the history of boxing. I'm putting that everywhere. We're posting this because that's the sort of thing that's going to resonate with the casual. Because whether or not you follow boxing or not, the fact that two identical twins are champions, that's going to click to you. Serena and Venus they're not identical. They're not even twins. But the fact that they're sisters and they were dominant and great became part of the marketing plan. Mm-hmm. It just simply isn't enough for the Charlos, in my personal opinion.
So wait. I'm going to drive you back into the lane here.
No, I'm coming back.
Okay.
Coming back right now. So my thought is that Jermall is a fantastic fighter. I would love to see him in the ring with Canelo. I would love to see him in the ring with Golovkin. I would love to see him in the ring with Demetrius Andrade. As a matter of fact, we've interviewed Demetrius Andrade on this channel. Yep. He's the only one of the fighters of that group that I mentioned who will even say his name. He's the only one that said. I interviewed Canelo for Forbes. He wouldn't even say his name. He wouldn't even say his name. I wanted to start playing Destiny's Child. Say my name, say my name. I want to say it, like act like he exists. Because it's ridiculous to me that he is being ignored as if he's this insignificant. They act like he's got a secondary title.
Brian. He's not being ignored. He's being avoided.
Now you said that like you almost sounded like Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction when you said, "I'm not going to be ignored, Dan."
Right, but you hear what I'm saying, right?
Right.
He's not being ignored. He's being avoided, and that's what I'm saying. They don't. His name is not in their mouth because they know the minute those words Jermall Charlo come out of their mouth.
Yeah.
He will be. Yeah, I'm here. What? When? What?
Set it up. Where? Lines only.
Exactly.
Set it up. Lines only.
Right. So look, I had an experience with him in December.
Yeah.
I managed Dennis Hogan, and Dennis fought Jermall Charlo December 7th at the Barclays Center, and Jermall Charlo is a hard-hitting, patient, dominating middleweight.
He's a big dude too.
Yeah, he is a big guy.
Middleweight.
He's a big guy. And I think that what's happening is some real career-defining big fights are passing him by.
They are, man.
Because these deals aren't being made. And I really believe for boxing's sake.
Yeah.
For boxing's sake, he needs to be fighting these guys. Just whatever the obstacles are, they need to find a way.
Do you realize they're gonna be 30 next month?
Yeah.
That pisses me off.
No legacy fight.
That pisses me off, man, because it's ridiculous, dude. Like it's crazy to me. It's crazy. It's stupid to me. There's no way in the world we shouldn't be seeing Jermall Charlo, Canelo, Jermall Charlo, Gennady Golovkin. I mean, man, can I even see Jermall Charlo's Derevianchenko? Something.
Sure. Would love to see that. Would love to see any of those names. But Brian, none of them say his name.
Say my name. Say my name. Come on, man. Can we? Let's go to the next championship rounds. We got to get this popping. All right. So this is for you.
Yeah.
Perfect fighter.
Look, you kind of put me on the spot here. It seems like you put some good thought into this. So what I'll do is
top of the head, actually.
Did it really?
It did.
So I'll just give you some off the top of my head. And then I think this is a great place where we can have maybe our viewers also participate in the comments. Please chime in. Let us know who you think. There's no right or wrong answer. It's all basically our opinions of who would make the complete fighter here.
Somebody's going to say Canelo.
Well, look, something stick out to me. Okay. So jab, I will agree with you. Larry Holmes, it's what comes to mind. Like if we did word association, Larry Holmes, when you say jab would come out. For left hook, De La Hoya came to mind for me. Okay, I was a fan of De La Hoya's left hook. For boxing IQ, there are so many fighters that I feel were great. I do like Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah,
in that scenario.
I can dig it
because he just found ways.
I can dig it.
Great chess player in the ring. Defense as an overall will go to Floyd Mayweather Jr. Purnell. You know, that's one we left out. Purnell. Athleticism, reflexes. I'm going with Roy Jones Jr.
all day.
Now, you know, look, we can go by generation. These are just the things that are, you know, grit. I mean, there's so many great fighters, right? You know, grit. I mean, we could say Arturo Gatti. We could say, you know, when we're talking about that inner fortitude, right? Even if it doesn't serve them well,
right?
You know, I think Marvin Hagler had grit. I mean, look, there's, you know, and I know people are going to say, but you left this guy. Yeah, we're going to leave a lot of guys out. We're just building a fighter like on the fly right now. So footwork, Sugar Ray Leonard. What do you think? Right? So Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, you know, there's, like I said, we could probably, like Mr. Potato Head, we could probably, you know, put in, take out so many excellent choices. But right now,
you might have just named the segment. This is boxing, Mr. Potato Head.
It's pretty good. What am I missing here? What did I not?
Chin, which I guess is hard. It's not really hard, but it's chin because
chin is
not hard. Kendall Hope has a great heart, but he ain't got no chin.
So, you said fast hands. Shane Mosley.
Shane Mosley is fake. But you think Shane Mosley's hands are faster than Meldrick Taylor and Gary Russell's?
I'm just building my fighter.
Gotcha.
You know, I mean, I your choices are all excellent. I'm just putting some other names in there that could be interchangeable. But I do believe Shane Mosley possessed outrageous. I mean,
Roy
might listen, Roy too. But here's another guy who might not have reached his potential, but had really quick hands in his prime. Zab Judah.
Amir Khan too.
Guys that Amir Khan. You know, right hand. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I'm going to give you one of my favorites that I'm very close to, Randall Bailey. Go watch his highlight reel. Yeah,
he put you out of there, man.
So, you know, Thomas Hearns had a big right hand. I mean, Mike Tyson had a little bit of all the above in his prime.
He had it all. Oh, Big George.
Big George. Chin in the heavyweight division.
Big George could be there for Chin, too.
He did. I mean, I know he did get stopped. I'm just saying, the rope-a-dope. Riddick Bowe was immovable.
Yeah.
I mean, Hart for Evander. There's so many great, you know, I mean, and like I said, we're missing so many names right now over so many years and so many divisions. I mean, actually, biggest right hand might be Ricardo.
Yeah. You know, it's so crazy.
You know, Ricardo Lopez. So I mean, shoot, we haven't even given Miguel Cotto or Felix Trinidad or you know, any place in this whole thing. I mean,
Cotto definitely would be in the conversation for Hart for me.
There's just so many. I mean, and so many people are going to come and say, "Hey, but you forgot about this." Yeah, we're forgetting about a lot of guys right now. But this is a great. Actually, this is pretty interesting. Kind of makes you think how to mix and match.
You know, it's funny. I you know, you love this sport when I'm like, as these names are being mentioned, I get a chill.
Yeah.
Up my spine because I'm thinking about the skill level. Because it's so funny. I tell people all the time, what I love most about boxing is actually not the violence. It's the skill. It's the strategy. It's trying to figure out how one tool is opposed to best another tool.
How do we not
fighting? It's just fighting.
How do we not name Muhammad Ali in anything here?
Who
are we?
What's
the matter with us?
I was going to see, the thing about Ali is that while I wouldn't have necessarily said he had the best of any one specific
footwork?
thing,
His footwork
definitely is in there.
His heart, his chin,
heart for sure, and chin. But it's like, to me, I think he's in like the top 2 or 3 in like 7 different categories, and there may not be anybody else who
I just feel like we just like went sacrilegious by not even like, you know,
I mentioned the greatest, yes, in anything, which is, yes, it's definitely up there. So it's a fascinating conversation. I can't wait to hopefully get some engagement and hear you guys build your boxing, Mr. Potato Head.
And listen, that should end up in Friday's Ask the Fight Guys. We can put up some of the graphics of some of these fighters that these guys build.
Yeah. And you know what else I think we should do, Peter, moving forward? This is off the top of the head. I think every show we should come with a fighter that you may not have heard of that you should look up. We can look at that as a way, because we got viewers of all different ages.
Right.
We might have somebody who's in their 20s and don't know anything about a fighter in the 19s. Like I said, a guy last episode, I said Carlos Monzon, one of the greatest middleweight champions.
Sure, from Argentina, yeah.
But how many people know who Carlos Monzon is and know that Bernard Hopkins broke his record?
Wasn't Monzon undefeated too when he died in the plane crash?
I believe so. It might have been one loss. It might have been. Okay. I can confirm. But either way, That is exactly what I want to do. I want to come with a different fighter every single episode, and you say, Google him. Or you can essentially say, Google it up. No, he had 3 losses. He had 3 losses.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah, but they were so early in his career. That's why it would seem like that. So, yeah. But
so maybe it was the consecutive wins that Bernard broke.
Yeah, he hadn't lost. He lost in his last loss was in 1964, and he died in 1977.
Gotcha.
So there it is. So that's all that we got for you today. I appreciate everybody watching. We appreciate everybody watching. If you're watching on Fight TV, you gotta go over to YouTube. You gotta like this video. You got to subscribe to the Fight Guys channel.
Gotta do it.
We bring in the heat. You understand me? We bring in the heat. It is. Click that notifications bell so that you'll know when new videos go up. Also, if you're watching already on YouTube, you should have already subscribed. You should already punch that like button. Right hand like Deontay Wilder on the like button. And if you are watching there, go ahead over to Fight TV and subscribe to their app as well, so that you can get more content, more combat sports content. For my man Peter Kahn, I am Brian Mazique. We appreciate you watching. This is the Fight Guys. God bless.